From the Studios of Books in Motion, this is Beth Richmond reading Curiosity Kills by Linda Roberts. Now let's begin with Curiosity Kills. Chapter 1. Sunday morning, Eastern Washington State. Jake's head pounded like someone was hitting him with a sledgehammer, and the sunlight glaring into his eyes was searing. It reminded him of the time he spent in Kuwait during Desert Storm. He winced, remembering the piercing pain in his eyes as he walked through the smoke of those burning oil fields, and then out into the intense desert sun. This morning, in the middle of a remote wheat field outside Odessa, Washington, he felt just about as bad as he did then. He pulled the bill of his WSU cap down farther over his eyes and searched his pockets for more Excedrin, but came up empty. Right now, he would do anything to get some relief. "Shit," he muttered. "Even God took a day off on Sunday." But that foxy blonde on the Weather Channel said there was a storm brewing. He had no choice. He had to get the last 200 acres seeded before the rains came, or the fields would be too wet to plant. If the tractor got bogged down in the mud, Luke would be all over him like ugly on an ape. He smiled as he thought of Irina and her sister Natasha, two Russian tourists he'd met in Odessa last week when he went to buy parts for the tractor. The buxom, raven-haired beauty said they were visiting relatives in Odessa and the Tri-Cities, so he offered to show them the sights. As usual, he was thinking with his small head. By the end of the evening, he was calling them Randy and Reddy. Luke was mad as hell when Jake got home long after midnight without the parts. A sudden jolt brought Jake back to reality, but not for long. The rocking motion of the tractor along the dry furrows reminded him of Samantha, the city girl he'd met the night before. Those city girls were always trouble. She was slumming, as she put it, checking out the cowboys at the county fair. She said he had the best ass in town. Jake knew he was good-looking, that came naturally, but he worked hard to keep the tight physique that attracted women to him like flies to a cow pie. Sometimes this was good, and other times not so good. After the dance, they drove down to his favorite spot on a grassy knoll by the river and opened a case of Coors. One thing led to another, and soon they were skinny dipping. Her auburn hair glistening under the full moon and the water dripping from her erect nipples really got a rise out of him. She was one sexy broad. They didn't get back to town until 3 a.m. As Jake rounded the corner into Dry Canyon, he was startled back to reality by what he saw. A train sat on a siding he had forgotten was there. Not just any train. This one had two jet-black engines, one at each end of the train, flanking unusually shaped black cars. There was something ominous about it, leaving him with a knot in his gut. There were no distinguishing marks on the cars, and from where he was, he couldn't see how anyone could even get inside to load. The engine was rumbling, but he couldn't see an engineer or any of the crew. What was it doing here on this siding in Dry Canyon anyway? As far as he knew, this spur hadn't been used in years. But it was an ideal location to hide out, concealed by the plateau surrounding the canyon in this isolated area. Jake and Luke rarely got out this way, and he was sure nobody else had a reason to be out here either. Jake always did have a suspicious nature. Curiosity killed the cat, his mother always told him, but he never could mind his own business. Suddenly, he forgot all about the jackhammer in his head as he drove the tractor along a path taking him closer to the train. Luke looked up from underneath the hood of his 1949 GMC when he heard someone driving down the lane toward the farmhouse. "Hot damn," he said out loud as he watched the leggy redhead get out of her car and walk toward him. "Couldn't be one of Jake's bimbos. She's too classy for that." "Hi, I'm Samantha," she said, forcing a smile. "Is Jake around?"